Story 1. I had a coworker whose hair was really smelly, and people started talking. So basically, I said, I like you a lot. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I also don't want people talking about you behind your back. So I will tell you, your hair smells really bad. We were in the military and in the desert at the time, but she washed it immediately, and she never had that problem again. Direct approach is always best. I can't stand passive-aggressive behavior like leaving deodorant. Story 2. The Ted Lasso way. When you're alone, ask, are you the type of person who likes it when someone points out you have something stuck in your teeth? When they inevitably say, yes, respond with, good, because I need to tell you, you have a strong odor coming off you. Story 3. Once way back when I was working as a chef, after closing, one of the servers got a can of deodorant from a shelf in the office and sprayed it under his arms. Me, looking up from cleaning my counter, I'm sure our customers would appreciate it if you could also use that at the start of your shift. Story 4. Highway mate, can I have a quick word? If I were you, I would rather know than not know. Couple of times when I've been close to you, I've noticed an odd smell. I thought you would rather know so you can do something about it. Then smile. Say something neutral like, no worries, mate, and leave. Then never mention it again and act like you haven't said anything and treat them completely normally. That's how they told me. Be aware, certain diets can mean people just naturally give off different smells. For example, vegan or vegetarian versus red meat eaters, certain foods like garlic or some spices. Only mention it if it's really bad or a particular problem. Story 5. This was actually one of the first things they taught me in a leadership program. I noticed you have a strong odor. It actually consists of a few steps. 1. You need to mention that you noticed. Not everyone around you, not your neighbors, not your colleagues, but you, to lessen the awkwardness. It should not be addressed as something that is inevitably tied to that person, therefore you have an odor. If you have it, you can get rid of it as opposed to you are. Use words that are not expressive. To be honest, I am not sure about my choice of the word odor because English is not my native language, but it is as close as I could get to be able to make a point. Tried it and worked wonders. No need to make an awkward situation even more awkward. Story 6. Take them aside and say you're not sure if they are aware of it, but you just want to let them know because you'd want to fix it before it became an ongoing issue. Also, ask if they are okay. You would want to make sure they aren't ill or in a bad situation. If they have no access to laundry or hygiene supplies, ask if they'd like you to put together a kit with deodorant, soap, hand sanitizer, wet wipes, or laundry detergent. Story 7. One of my good friends in high school wasn't shy about suddenly and loudly announcing, somebody on this bus smells like shit. She probably made a lot of innocent people self-conscious along with the stinky person. She would do this on the bus, in class, in the hallway, anywhere it was needed. Story 8. When I was in Afghanistan with 6 women in a room meant for only 2 people, a new female arrived who was a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Hence, her specific undergarments. We were in a very active location and were experiencing rocket attacks, mortar attacks, improvised explosive devices, and car bombs multiple times a day. This new female was terrified. Even though she was a staff sergeant, she had never been deployed, so everything overwhelmed her. The close living quarters, the communal restrooms, the foreign nationals who performed all of the menial tasks. Everything. She refused to give her uniforms to the laundry to be cleaned, and she refused to bathe. The worst part was she only had one set of her specific undergarments. At the end of her shift, she would take off her uniform in our overcrowded room, and we would literally gag. I went to her command first and told them it was a problem and asked if they could give her time off to launder her clothing. Result: nothing happened except the stench worsened. Finally, I had to confront her. We talked about her fears, anxieties, and issues. When she told me she only had one set of her specific undergarments, I asked if perhaps she could bathe in it. I had been deployed before with women from her faith and had seen them do that. Open showers and all. No, she couldn't, she told me, because she only had one set. I asked if she could get another set shipped, and she said they had to be blessed by some church authority, and her dad couldn't go to the place to make this happen. Bottom line, None of the problem solving I tried worked. I swear that I have never in my life experienced a worse odor. I have no idea what happened next because I left, but I tried to have a mature but frank conversation with her. However, her inability to deal with the deployment as a whole made her unable to change, both literally and figuratively. Story 9. I have an employee who could singe my nose hair. His smell is so toxic. Breath and body odor combined, it's like wearing a roadkill scarf. I bought company mints and gave him a whole pack and told him he needs to use it. I also mentioned a couple of times, "Are you wearing deodorant today?" to get right to the point. The smell is not perfect but far better now. You can suffer in silence or just bite the bullet and communicate. Story 10. Write them a note signed by their crush. Edit the Wikipedia page of their favorite celebrities with quotes like, "I married him because he smelled good." Take them to a Korean spa and splurge on a full-body exfoliation treatment. Write erotica in which the girl's interest is good hygiene and accidentally leave it out in the open for them to find. Pretend to fart really loudly and then say, "Darn it, I just showered." Cook a batch of curry chicken and then go over to their place. Repeatedly turn your head and sniff the air. When they ask, "What are you doing?" say you got some curry sauce on the back of your head somehow and now the smell is following you. "I just ate a ton of stinky foods and now my burps are really bad. Do you have any gum?" Mud wrestle daily. Story 11. Please try to bear in mind that while it's often just poor hygiene, not everyone has a choice. I treated a poor fellow some years back who had an odd medical problem that made his body odor extremely difficult to manage, no matter what he did. Washing 3 times a day, medical strength deodorants, special soaps, changing clothes, you name it, nothing worked. I could tell when he arrived 6 meters and 1 door away, and spending half an hour in a small room with him was pretty rough. He was a lovely guy, and his life was extremely difficult due to everyone he met assuming he was dirty or not being able to stand the smell. When I last saw him, he was waiting for surgery to sever nerves and stop his armpits from sweating, with no guarantees it would work or change things if it did. Tough road indeed. Story 12. It was my turn to be the spokesperson for the study group because they were talking about a friend who smelled like a cat. I spoke to her directly, saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, and I don't know how to say this, but there are comments that you smell like a cat." Of course, the two of them alone in their house. I imagine that I smell like a dog sometimes, especially when it rains, but they have never told me anything. Story 13. As someone who stunk and didn't know, I very much appreciated my name. "There's a bit of a smell coming off you. Is everything all right? Just don't do it in public." Story 14. Hey, my brother, your sweat is loud as heck. It smells like you just came from the gym. Just use that as an excuse until you hit the shower and return the favor if I'm ever in the same position. Love. Story 15. A polite way to address it might be to pull them aside privately and say something like, "Hey, I hope this doesn't come off the wrong way, but I just wanted to let you know I noticed a strong smell earlier. I figured you'd want to know in case it's something you can fix." This way, it comes off as thoughtful rather than rude, I think. Story 16. I don't mean to be rude. I am saying this out of the kindness of my heart. I think you need to wash yourself better. I've said that exact phrase before, and they might get embarrassed and not even respond. But trust me, I never smelled that scent again. It might embarrass you and them to say it, though. It might be best to say that you noticed a smell coming from them because you don't know if it's hygiene or medical. Story 17. Step 1. Make sure you're at a safe distance, about 10 feet. Step 2. Raise your left hand to about nose level and gently pinch your nose. Step 3. Raise your right hand to about nose level and start to fan up and down while maintaining the left hand pinching your nose. Step 4. Establish eye contact with the target. Step 5. Profit. Story 18. I usually open with, I am the type of person to look out for people I like and tell them when they have spinach in their teeth. So I just wanted to let you know there is a smell around you that people are starting to really notice, so you can do something about it. Story 19. Hey, just so you know, you smell bad right now. I just wanted to let you know so you can fix it. Or if you prefer indirect. Hey, I think something smelly brushed up against you at some point. You might want to take a shower and change clothes. Story 20. Be compassionate and direct. My sister smelled like actual cat feces for weeks. I don't think she believed me, but I genuinely told her, "You literally reek of feces." I had to get my mom involved as an impartial sniffer to confirm she did smell. Turns out the cat had defecated in her wardrobe, and she had become accustomed to it somehow. I don't know how messed up her sense of smell was after that. Story 21. Do not deceive them. Pull them to the side and directly tell them, respectfully, of course. It is much more hurtful when it's like sending them videos of hygiene. Story 22. In high school, my friend had a body odor that many of our classmates were aware of. I decided to be honest with her and gently told her that she should consider using deodorant, as there were times when she didn't smell her best, and others were noticing it too. Thankfully, she took my advice to heart. And since then, she has consistently smelled great and maintained excellent hygiene. Sometimes, a direct and caring approach is the most effective. Story 23. You can't really be polite because you are telling them about a flaw. You can be gracious and thoughtful about how you do it. Always build an out into your approach that allows them to save face. This can include 1. I haven't noticed you having this problem until recently. I had this same problem and I realized it was blank, so I've totally been there. I only brought it up because I know that you're a thoughtful, clean, conscientious person, and I know I would want someone to tell me. Story 24. I remember at college I was doing a course with 98% females. They all collectively were convinced this one girl smelled terrible and all got together to politely gift her some deodorant. I never noticed anything remotely smelly about her. I am pretty sure this was girls just picking on the ugly duckling. It was an interesting insight into the world of girls. Story 25. If it is someone you are not super close with, maybe say, "Hey, I think something might have spilled on your clothes." That way, it does not feel like a personal attack. Story 26. We had a coworker who smelled bad all the time. I never said anything until I was in my supervisor's office one day. The coworker walked by, and another coworker walked up 30 seconds later, waving her hand in front of her face. I said, "The coworker?" She replied, "Yes." The supervisor had never noticed it. We called our intern into the supervisor's office. The supervisor asked him about the coworker. He said he'd noticed it too. The supervisor and her boss had a chat with the coworker. It turns out he didn't have a working washing machine. He was also recently widowed, so I think depression played a role too. The next day he came to work, he didn't smell anymore. He had a friend who let him come over once a week to do laundry. Story 27. I think taking them aside and saying it as judgment-free but as clear as possible is the best approach. Don't do it in front of people, and ideally do it in a situation where they can go and fix it. Side note, a friend of mine is a doctor, and he works in the emergency room now but used to be a psychologist. He told me once there's nothing worse for him than when living people come in smelling like a decomposing body, a smell you never forget. The worst part about it is that you often can't really help them. Story 28. You pull them to the side away from people, and you tell them, "Hey mate, it might be an idea to give yourself a quick blast with this. You're a little bit whiffy, and people are starting to notice." Then hand them a can of deodorant. If there's a problem with their water at home or they have a health problem causing it, and you know about it, you don't say anything. They probably already know they don't smell fresh, and they don't need you adding to the frustration by pointing it out. You just discreetly offer them deodorant if you have it. In either case, I have a terrible sense of smell and probably wouldn't notice anyway. Story 29. In freshman year of high school, I was someone from a very low-income neighborhood and background. I had to ride a longboard or a bike everywhere because my parents weren't around and I was in a pretty bad foster family that were drug addicts. I rode myself everywhere, whether it be to school, back, to stores, or doctor's appointments. I had limited access to showers and I really stunk. I did not have good hygiene. I brushed my teeth maybe once a week and showered at the same rate. Someone asked me politely after a class, "Hey, are you having trouble showering? Do you need any help with body wash or shampoo?" And I kind of broke down crying and shared all my trauma with them. I received a gift basket from them about a week later with a loofah, a shower gel, some shampoo and conditioner, and a toothbrush and toothpaste set. I didn't ask for anything, but my situation was bad, and I just lived my life up to that point not caring. Now, I have friends I hang out with on a weekly basis, have a good home and social life, and can't really complain. What I'm getting at is, I didn't care about myself enough to do anything about my stench. I was asked a heartfelt question, even if they did it out of spite, and they helped me out more than they could ever know. They became one of my best friends to this day. I'm not saying that being told about the stench works every time. I doubt a gift basket will work a quarter of the time, but it sure worked for me. I became much more aware of my problem and led a better, cleaner life for myself. No matter what I went through, life can be bogging these people down, and they'll forget about caring for themselves throughout wading in that bog of eternal stench. Edit. I started showering at the local Young Men's Christian Association every day.